Let's roll. Co-pilot on the passenger side, you so fly. Yeah. She so lit, we so high. Just me and my chick, yeah. Just me and my chick, yeah. Co-pilot on the passenger side, you so fly. Yeah. She so lit, we so high. Just me and my chick, yeah. Just me and my chick, yeah. She give me a bit of her love. Yo, what up, y'all? Welcome to another one. This is your boy Rob One, and this is Sparking Conversation. And y'all know what I do each and every week. I get up here and I talk to some of the world's most interesting people. And tonight I'm gonna do the same thing. But before we get into that, you know how I do each and every week. I gotta give it up to all the people that download the audio version of this platform, because I tell y'all the real MVPs. When it comes down to doing podcasting or anything such as that, you got to remember this visual part, that's just a bonus. That's just the extra. But really, it's about your audio. And I want y'all to always compare it to like books. Some people out here always think that somebody don't consume things in a certain way, and they really do. If a person could sit down here and read a book for however long it takes for them to get from start to finish, it's the same thing they do with podcasting. So don't think that your podcast don't have a place because it may be a certain length and all these other things, and that you can't take it that serious because of the visual part, right? I want you guys to always understand that if you're going to do something like this, just take it there. Right, take it all the way there, and just remember what the importance of it is. It's about your audio. And then I know, because it's like, yo, Rod, you promoting competition, and it's not. It's not competition. What I'm telling y'all is that it's enough out there for everybody. It's a niche. Everybody has a certain thing that they're into. They got murder mystery podcasts. They got ghost podcasts. They got all kind of different things that people are interested in, and they'll go consume it. But the same person that'll consume a ghost podcast will consume yours too. Like, you just got to remember, a lot of people have a lot of different interests, and if you can spark another person's interest based on what you have to bring to the table, then yeah, man, it's open for you, and you should be able to take advantage of that. So I want all of you guys out there, if you take this serious, it's a link in the description for the RSS feeds, and I want you guys to take it, go click the link, get some more information. You can start for free, or you can distribute the audio version of your podcast, get it out there to the world, everywhere that people download audio versions. I bet. So, I'm not a gatekeeper. I like to get our information out, because at this particular point in time, so many people are concerned about AI taking their jobs. But you guys should always understand that it's just open up another avenue. Content is king, right? Content is king. And even down to films and all this other stuff, remember, it's right in people's hands right now. The life and the world of standing in the lines for the movie theaters where people are wrapped around a building to go see the new whatever, that's over with, right? So you personally now, you have the access to be right there where everybody is already consuming. So, content is king. So remember that, all right? Let's get to it. All right. So now that I gave them the shout out, y'all know I got to go ahead and give these shameless plugs. Y'all know how I do. To all of y'all that has been pushing play on the new content, Ooblifter Part 20, thank y'all so much. I appreciate y'all. Yes, we have content dropping every other week, brand new. We got the clip loaded, and we're going to keep on pushing and giving y'all that good energy, because we like to let people laugh. We like to make sure that people enjoying it. So thank y'all to all of you guys that's already pushing play on part 20 of the Ooblifter series. Now, in the spring, y'all know what we doing. We doing the We Don't Wait, We Create networking event and kickback, okay? And this is what we doing. I want all of you guys out there to know that, man, we putting it together so that each and every person out there that's into any of these creative fields, we want to get y'all together with people that's already doing it, not people that's going to get you in a room just to have you in a room and, that's it. Nah, that's not what we doing. We actually literally are putting it together so by the time you leave that room that evening, you should be linked up with somebody that can help push your brand, or that you can collaborate with to keep moving to the next level. That's what we're doing. If you go on my timeline, you already see that we're working. So it's not like even just come in and come check me out. You know that it's something going on. So thank you to everybody that's already RSVP'd. I know it's a few months away, but this is what we do. We want to make sure that the right people are in the building, so we're going to let y'all know early. So thank y'all to everybody already that's been RSVPing, okay? Now, to those of you that may need you a new companion, this is what we doing, y'all. We got a couple of puppies. I know. Hey, listen, these are Staffordshire puppies, and they are ready to go. So, if any of you guys are looking, no matter where you are, if you are looking for a new companion, a new pet to gift to a person, or just for you yourself, man, y'all know what to do. Check me out. Hit me in the DMs. I'll connect you with the breeder, and you guys can go from there. And then get you a new companion, man. You know what I'm saying? It's like it's like, yo, why not? You know, it's a lot of people out here who are lonely, so giving them a new companion and giving them something to do, it'll be really amazing. So thank y'all for those of you already that's showing interest in the puppies. All right. So I got a guest tonight. So y'all know before I give my guest, I got to go through my rant. But before I go through my rant, I want to give y'all this "Did you know" segment. Because listen, a part of it is this. We all are separated by the dumbest thing out here. Y'all know ICE out here running through the streets and all that other stuff. And you know how people are feeling. They're up in their feelings about the way that things are going. Although they said that they were going to do this before they did it. And people are still upset at what's going on. And I get it, you know. They're regular everyday citizens being affected by this and, you know, all of that. And then when it's supposed to be about getting out, you know, the worst of the worst that was let over here during the last administration and all these other things. But, you know, on the platform, I try to help other people see it from a perspective of saying like, yo, listen, y'all, no matter which side that you guys are choosing, it's still the sides on their end that they're working together. And if you don't think they are, I don't know why. I don't know what makes us think that really is a separation out here. Like it's really a Democrat and Republican Party, the people that don't like each other. Listen, in the background, they all working together. And I know for some reason it looks like for me, let's just take me for example. I'm up here on my platform and I talk about these things sometimes because it's not a political platform. You know, we talk about life. And at the end of the day, I want to spark conversation. That's the reason why the platform is there. So people could take whatever they want to feel about my commentary. It'll still spark a conversation. Although, you know, I get so many negative responses when I talk about these things because for some reason people think racism and racist and race stuff is the most important part about people before you understand that, you know, when these people are in these certain positions, do y'all really think they care about what color we are down here on this end, man? Y'all really think that? Like at the end of the day, that don't really have nothing to do with it. It's we, you know, we don't get to choose who we gonna be before we get down here. So the fact that we still run around here being divided by the way we look is ridiculous to me because at the end of the day, while we are divided by that, the people that look alike and don't look alike, guess what they doing? They getting together and they doing things to us and using these things and sliding things in the background. And I told y'all that before. Like every time something happens and they bring up a new law or they bring something up and they get everybody on one thing, and then when you think you getting justice for that or you getting something for that, in the fine print, they putting this slide in what they really want to slide in. Because we as a group of people, we for some reason we don't demand that they should be single bills. No, we allow them to just compound a bunch of things in one, and they use one thing as the main objective, and then they slide their own personal agendas up under it. It's been happening since the beginning, and now I got this video I want to show y'all because y'all think that they really ain't gonna work together to put us in a position where they know each and everything that everybody out here is doing. And I think about that. Not this isn't broke. This ain't broke people that are doing it. These are people who got all the money already. So the fact that these people already have this and at this end of this day, they just still want to know everything that's going on down here with us will let y'all know that the power lies down here with us. But for some reason, we so separated that we can't see that, and because of that, we're allowing little things like this to happen. So I'm gonna share my screen because a lot of times, you know, I want y'all. It's a little. This video is a little long. It's a little 2 minutes and some change. But I want to show it the whole thing because, yo, I want y'all to get the point. Because at the end of the day, I don't want you to think it's just me up here talking shit because I know it can seem that way, but that ain't the vibe. Right? So listen, let me share my screen real quick. We're gonna get to it. Right? Hold on for a second. Hold on for a second. We're going to do this the right way because I gotta give it to you all, man. Word. Let's go.
Under Biden in 2021, Congress. Did you know under Biden in 2021, Congress passed the Infrastructure and Investment Jobs Act? Buried in Section 24220, it mandates advanced impaired driving prevention technology as standard equipment in all new vehicles. In other words, sensors in new cars tracking everything that you do. Cameras tracking your eye patterns, making sure you're not distracted, drowsy, or looking away. Sensors in the cabin literally testing your breath and making sure you don't have a blood alcohol content, as well as your steering wheel, or sometimes your push to start button will have the same type of sensor. And if it senses any of these things, it can force your car into a mandatory shutdown, forcing you to pull over with no appeal, and you can't turn your car back on. And the worst part, it's already being implemented into cars being sold today for drowsiness and distractions, such as Subaru, Hyundai, Volvo, GM, and a bunch more. And yesterday, Representative Thomas Massey tried to cancel this entire bill to prevent it from even happening. But of course, almost every single Democrat voted for it, and 57 Republicans also voted for it. So that says a lot. Not only does this completely infringe our rights of freedom and privacy, but it literally is putting our personal car information at risk of being hacked or subpoenaed. Not to mention the overly sensitive AI that gives false positives, forcing your car into shutdown mode for minor reasons, such as if you keep glancing at your speedometer or your mirror or your phone, for instance. That's a flag. Every time you look away for more than 2 seconds, it flags you. And after so many flags, your car gets shut down. If you yawn for too long or have your eyes closed for too long, your car is going to get shut down. Taking medication, having allergies, sun glares, or even arguing with your passenger can set a false positive and make your car shut off. And this is how it always starts. They push ideas that they can get the majority to agree on, such as drunk driving. And before you even know it, they're going to be shutting your car down remotely for climate emergencies or unpaid tickets. Now, before any liberals go raging in the comments at me that this isn't happening or this is fake news, it is happening and it's already being implemented. The only thing that isn't implemented yet is the blood alcohol sensors, and they're still working on that. That's why it hasn't been released yet, simply due to the fact that they're still working on policy and technology. But they do have the distraction and drowsiness sensors, so it's just a matter of time. 57 Republicans voted for this bill, though. Isn't that crazy? That's how many rhinos we have in Congress right now. There's no wonder we have so much corruption. They want to take our freedoms away.
Okay, so y'all know what to do, man. However y'all feel about that clip or whatever, whether you believe it, whether you don't, you know what I'm saying? I went and looked up the bill and it's definitely in there. So for y'all, if y'all want to, you know what to do. Leave the comments and we could talk about it, because at the end of the day, I want y'all to know, man, it is only made to seem like it's a difference and it's separate, and it's really not. Because again, you know, we will figure it out at some point. Let's just not figure it out when it's too late. You know what I mean? Let's not do that. Let's figure out how to take control of your situation like now, which is really what's going on in our society too right now, because everybody's so afraid of things. But it's just a mindset that you have to have in order for you to navigate what's really going on, and which is so great because my guest that I have tonight, you know, just, you know, talking to her in the background before, you know, I'm even going to bring her on, man. I'm just saying, I feel like for all of y'all that's watching tonight and all of y'all that's going to watch the playback, you're going to get a lot out of this conversation today. You know why? Because there's so many people out here who use excuses as reasons. And I understand that, you know, there's people out here who feel like there's a difference in between the two, or they conflate the two, where I think it's a difference for sure. But no, you make excuses for things where there are people out here who don't. They really get it done, and they do it in a way where they balance it. And not only that, they balance it in a way where other people say that it's not supposed to work, where the people around you, they still love you. And they not only do they love you, they cherish you in the fact that you actually were a person that put in this particular type of work. When you had to be the leader, when you had to be a owner, right? You know what they say about that. You know, all the hours that it take for you to really build your empire or to build what you're trying to build and all these different things. And people around you start to feel neglect, or this person don't this and that person don't appreciate that, and they go over there. But That's not the case all the time. And there's a bunch of people out here who's been able to balance just that and been able to maintain a life just like that. And I think that tonight's conversation is going to be one of those that should inspire each and every person, especially women. And I get it. There are not a lot of things out here motivating men. I understand that. But sometimes, guys, we got to put our ego and pride aside to understand what motivation is. Motivation is not agenda. Mindset is not agenda. What you got to do is pick up on energy. What we need to understand is where that energy come from a person that says that I'm going to make it happen regardless. That's what we need to hone in on. We don't need to hone in on all that extra stuff that they use already for separation. It's not what it's about, y'all. So look, I'm gonna bring my guest up, man, so we could politic real quick because, like I said, I think this conversation is going to be amazing, and I think that each and every one of y'all are going to get something out of this tonight. So let's do this, y'all. Let's bring it up. Hello, hello, hello.
Hello.
Hey,
Thanks for
how are
having
you?
me. I'm
Yeah,
excellent.
definitely. Thank you so much for being on the show, man. You know what I mean? I appreciate you so much for, just being a guest, man, and sharing your expertise with the people.
Well, I appreciate that. Thank you. I love your message about getting out there and creating content because the world is definitely listening to it, and it's good advice. I got advice a couple years ago from someone that said every time you record yourself and you put it out there, or you put a picture of yourself out there, you are cloning yourself, and it's creating it's going out there and doing the work for you and telling the world your message. And I just love that. I think it's
Yeah,
great.
that's so amazing. That's so. So before we go too far, because that's how we started already in the background. But listen, if you don't mind, introduce yourself to the audience and then let them know why you're on the platform this evening.
My name is Kimberly Fisher. I teach business owners and leaders how to, I teach them about purpose, about how to look at their profits and how to lead people better. And my hope is that someone here will be inspired and that they will want to own businesses. I fully believe that freedom comes from creating something that the market wants to pay for. And if I can help you to avoid some of those pitfalls, that's what my goal is. I have owned and operated businesses for 30 years, and I have failed miserably many times, and I've also been really successful. We own a couple of we own a restaurant group and a couple of other businesses, and we do pretty well now. And I've learned a lot of things along the way that finally made it to where I wasn't married to my business, and I actually had freedom. So that's what my hope is. I believe that a lot of our answers are in us creating things and doing amazing things in the world and making the world a better place by creating. And I think it's Cody Sanchez that says that in the early 1980s, we had about 80% of our country were business owners. Pre the pandemic, it was somewhere around 25%, and now we're like 8%. So she has a mission, and I have a mission to empower and encourage people to stop being employees and be business owners that make the world a better place, so that we're not just giving it all to the mega corporations, because I think we can do amazing things.
Facts, and I appreciate that because, um, there comes a time when a person is trying to get to that place that you're speaking of to become a business owner. Sometimes, they always tell you don't tell your dreams to people, right?
Oh, yeah.
Because a lot of people are dream killers because they don't see themselves doing something. They'll tell you what you can't do.
Mhm.
But there comes a time where you as a person, like you have a vision of something and you may, let people know like your vision or what you feel for yourself. And, it's so easy for people to get discouraged when they don't get, people don't feel excited about that part because you know why? Because it's the failure that people feel the most, right? And I'm glad that you said earlier in your intro about how you failed miserably because the one thing that people do is they fear that part the most to the point where they don't try, and which is a bigger failure than trying and it not working because how
Mhm.
would you know, right? Because it could have worked. So let's talk about that a little bit from your perspective. um in the failings, what were the things that you had to actually overcome for you personally in dealing with the failings that caused you to keep going? where other people would fail at something and they would stop and say, this is not for them.
Right. I would say that most of us inside of us, we feel called to a greater purpose. We know that there's something that we're supposed to be doing, that we're contributing. And that's what I really felt. Um, my backstory, I was kicked out of my home when I was 11 years old, and I lived in group homes and foster care. I ended up in a shelter for a period of time, and then I sort of couch surfed and I've lived in abandoned houses until I was about 16 when I convinced somebody to let them rent an apartment from them. And I turned it into a co living house by bringing some of my friends in and renting space to them, which is interesting. But in that, it did this thing where it sort of wrote on my identity that I didn't have value and that somehow the world was going to reject me. And so it was really hard to battle that. And I think a lot of us struggle with that. I think that's a deep seated struggle that most people endure is, do I have value? And is the world going to want what I have to offer? And I would say, I would argue, absolutely. Every single one of us has a voice, and someone needs you to stand up and be the person that they need you to be. And when I first started out, I made a lot of mistakes. My first business, I started a cleaning business. I made a tremendous amount of mistakes, and I just have to say I'm really grateful for the people that gave me grace and let me continue to clean their homes, even though I didn't really know what I was doing. And I created so much freedom for myself in that business that I could set my own hours, I could make my own money, and it's really good money for somebody that doesn't have any kind of an education. And I loved it so much, I started teaching other people how to do it because I was like, "This is fantastic." I got my best friend into it, and she says to me today, she says, "You ruined me," because she can't go back to working for someone else because she likes the idea of being able to set her own schedule and all of the things. And in that we were, we wanted to I wanted to build more, and so I ended up getting employees. At one point, we purchased an answering service, and anyway, we got embezzled from, and I had poor choices with staff that I hired that were stealing from my customers, and it became like this really crazy, awful time for us. But I learned a lot in that, and not every employee is going to be that way. But there are warning signs and there are red flags that if you're not paying attention, you're going to ignore them. And so I learned a ton from that. I learned that it's really important to hire slow and fire fast. And as soon as you see that
Mm.
something isn't right, and then with buying another business, boy, I tell you what, um, there are so many people that are available to help you to make sure that you are crossing your T's and dotting your I's and making sure that you are doing your due diligence and have all of your paperwork so that you don't fall into pitfalls like that. But we were just, chasing after the shiny object and thinking, this is going to be great. And it did. It halted everything for us. Uh, I honestly reconsidered being a business owner. I thought about going back to work at that point, but we persevered and had multiple other businesses since then. And then, ironically, we started a food business. We started a food truck, and it continued to grow. And we had a catering kitchen. And we thought, you know what, we'll just open up as a restaurant. And we opened our doors in February of 2020. And for some reason, by the grace of God, we grew through the pandemic while I watched my fellow business owners that owned restaurants just crumble and shut their doors. There's one that was my favorite restaurant since I was a kid. So and we learned a lot from that
Wow.
whole experience too. So
Yeah. So, wow. So that was a
that
lot.
was a
So
lot.
yeah.
Sorry.
So no, 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 no. It's good because even with going back to your childhood, that was important because trauma, right? Uh, all the things that people go through that cause them to revert to other things. Business doesn't necessarily go along with things that most of us had to go through that still with trauma and childhood, right? So the fact that you had to endure from 11 years old up until where you are now, and all the things that you've gone through in those time frame in order for you to be who you are now, that takes a lot of mental gymnastics. It had to be, because self-worth is something that we don't learn, and we don't learn till later on, because it's something that somebody should have taught us as kids, right? Or like the way that we're raised would raise us in a way to say that we're valued, that we're loved. But a lot of us, unfortunately, weren't raised that way. And then do certain things, we may have found love, and then do certain things we didn't. But the mindset to not go a route more negative, but to face obstacles that you fail at, but keep trying when other people have gave up on you, like, yo, that's some fighting right there. That's almost like Rocky, right? That's
Yeah.
almost like Rocky in the 8th round, right?
Thank you.
Like the
Feels like
way
a
you have to
compliment.
fight back. Yeah,
You
because
do
the way
have to
you have
fight
to
back,
fight
though.
back.
Yeah, you really do have to fight. No, I agree. I think it's how the lens that you look through things at, because the world is it's a sad place. And if you spend enough time looking for sad things, you're going to find lots of them. But if you spend time instead looking at the how things are good and what is good in the world, I look at like, for instance, being kicked out of my house. I look at it as it was a gift, because the people in that house were addicts, and I would have grown up in that environment. And so I'm grateful that I
Oh,
wasn't. And I never, I mean, I was, there were struggles, lots of struggles, but I had so many adults that came alongside me and said, you know, you were dealt a pretty rough hand, and I want to minister to you. I want to be somebody that pours into your life and helps you to become the adult that you're meant to be. And for a long time, I was sad about the situation that I was in, but at some point, you have to just decide: am I going to allow this to be something that paralyzes me for the rest of my life, or am I going to use it for something good? And that's what I decided. I just decided that everything that happened to me, it happened for a purpose, and I'm going to use it for good. And I'm going to reach behind. There's this saying. I think it was Christine Campbell that said it. She said that we sell ourselves a great lie, that leaders are supposed to be people that who have never been through the desert themselves. And the truth is that a good leader is somebody that has been through the desert and turns around and reaches back and helps the next person through. And that's the purpose of
exactly.
life, right? That's the reason we're
Yeah.
here, is to help the next person through. And that's my hope and my desire, is to make life better for everyone else, because I can see how my life has been such a blessing.
But yeah, and that's why I said it's the mentality, right? It's the mindset of understanding that, you know, you are living in a purpose and not so much in just circumstances, right? Because, like you said, it was a time when you were sad. Like all of us, when we are going through it, you can't see that it's part of your purpose. All you can see is that you're going through something that you don't want to, right? That you don't feel like you should be. And there's a lot of questions why, you know what I mean, that comes up that you can't get direct answers from, right? But in order to turn that into triumph, though, that's that switch where people go either left or right. Now, there's no in between for that, right?
Yeah.
Because some people do experience different things themselves, right? But they still find their way back on the right path, where there's people who veer off a little bit and they're completely off, right? And they're gone. And so there's only those two ways. So in order for you to make it from what you went through from 11 up until you actually owning multiple businesses and having people under you and all of these different things, to be that, and then being a mom, and then all of these other things, like the mindset. And that's what I feel like I want a lot of people to take from our conversation today. It's like, listen, although you may look at a person and think they got it all, but you don't have no idea what they've been through in order to be who they are, right? Because you're not walking around with the 11-year-old you on your shoulders or on your back like people to see, like, yo, yeah, I'm CEO or boss this, but you don't know what I had to go through to be this person. Right?
Right.
You're not wearing that. So people don't see that when they see you. They just judging you for where you are and probably for what y'all have and to what it may seem like, but they don't understand what you had to go through to be this person that you are. So your businesses, let's talk a little bit about that. Um, I know you said a food truck and then that became successful. You had a call center one time that gave you a bunch of headaches. So as you started developing businesses that started working, where did you find your niche into that? Because I know you said something about your freedom, which I feel like is more important. How did you go about pivoting from one business to the other and not just focusing on one?
So
Because some
typically
of you
what would
people
happen
tell me I'm crazy.
typically what would happen is we would own and operate a business, and then it, for whatever reason, we would fail. Or for instance, we did energy ratings for residential and commercial properties here in the state of Alaska for a period of time, and it was subsidized by the state because we had extra funding from the oil revenue. And then they
Right.
decided to discontinue that program. And so we were looking at, should we pivot? Should we go into home inspections, or what should we do? And that's when my husband said, because I got to tell you. So my husband and I got married in 2002, and the
Mhm.
person that was supposed to cater for our wedding no-showed. And it created like this crazy drama that was my wedding party. We had scheduled 2 hours between the wedding and the reception. So I didn't know this was going on. My bridesmaids and groomsmen made food for the party. Like they made it all happen. I walked into the reception and they're in the kitchen with their sleeves rolled up. And after that, I realized we had other things that happened too, and it was a really stressful day. And I thought, man, getting married is like, that is the hardest thing. So any person that I knew that got married after that, I either made their wedding cake or I catered their food for them because I was just trying to be helpful. And I'm good at mass producing food. So that was something that was really easy for me. And in 2016, my husband was helping me do this wedding. It was for 350 people, somebody I didn't really know. And he looked at me and he goes, "Why are we not getting paid for this?" And I said, "I don't know." And he's like, "We should start a business." And that's why we started the food truck. So, and you're right. When I started all of this, I thought to myself, I want freedom. I was a waitress for a long time. I was sick and tired of the customers that I was dealing with. I actually got into a fight with my cook, and my boss fired me because he needed the cook more than me. And yeah,
Wow.
I didn't want to be on somebody else's time anymore. I wanted to be able to create the life that I wanted. But all the businesses that I had before, they really were, um, they I was the reason why they existed. And it was this, when we started the restaurant, I started seeking out mentors. I joined a mentorship program. I got as much advice as I possibly could. I read a lot of books, and I realized that if I'm the one that does everything, I'll never gain freedom. And so
Facts.
that was my mindset shift. And also, that negative brain, there's a guy called Dr. Joe Dispenza. I listened to an app,
Yeah.
it's called, Pep Talk. You heard of
I
him?
like that's my
He
guy.
and he
Yeah, I like him.
I love him, and he has this thing,
Yeah.
I call it the thought loop, of what he was describing, but just how
Mm.
your thoughts, dictate your behaviors, which drive your beliefs and your experiences, which drives your
Mhm.
emotions, which causes your thoughts. And what was significant to me in that is that my emotions are what drive my thoughts, which means my brain is making chemicals to create emotions, which is driving my thoughts. So my thoughts are really not mine. They don't belong to me. And I can actually control my thoughts. And that was the first time I'd ever heard that.
Mm.
And I realized that's it. I'm going to change. I don't want to be this person anymore. And so that's when we
Yo.
started to develop systems, and I developed SOPs. I started developing my leadership team so that they could be the rock stars that they are. I started trusting in them, and then finally now I have freedom. I'm gone sometimes 2 weeks a month, and I don't have to go into work. I have two restaurants that run on their own, and I'm super grateful for that. And yeah, I can't agree enough. Everything you're saying, it's 100% right. It's I love it.
And that's the thing because man, sometimes you just don't know because you could feel like an outcast in this particular thought process, right? Or mindset, right? Because you want the people around you to understand it too, as well as get it from their perspective. Like, not trying to make a person be like you, but just if a person want to be around you to understand you, right?
Mhm.
Because for most of us that have this thing to create, because we're creating, right? Because even with cooking, you have to create because it's a thought in your head that you got to go. Because even with seasonings and measurements, who really measures seasoning? Like
You can do that with your heart.
it's like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's you cooking from love, right? So like there's no such thing as that, right? When it comes down to it. So even with that, it's a thing where it's a vibe, it's a feeling. And not very few people can understand that about a person that because if they can't relate to it. So that's why I wanted to make it very important about the mindset because you're right. Like, listen, you can go all day making somebody else's dream come true. And if you find value in that, that's cool. Or you could trade time for money if you feel like that gives you more of a security blanket. But then there's some of us that just want to work towards freedom. And with that comes, being creative. Like really being what God has called you to be. And for a lot of people, that's a scary feeling for them because it's almost like that analogy that they use about the parachute, right? Like you really don't know if your parachute work if you don't jump,
It's true.
right? And so when it comes down to people, they fear to jump.
Mhm.
So what they rather do is tell you to wear the parachute, but then they don't want you to jump. So it's weird, right? But so that's why it's like the mindset that you got to have as a person to say to yourself, like, yo, no matter what I've gone through, I'm going to continue to move this way because this is where I find purpose. And in your purpose, you can find freedom. And you said something that was really important about, yo, if I'm doing everything, then I'm never going to have the freedom.
Mhm. It's true.
It, it's not. I've been literally calling out things that I need going forward with these things that I've been doing, and literally it's been coming. The power of the tongue is very important. Power of manifestation in which you speak into the atmosphere is important when you're in tune and when you're in tune to the right energy and the right frequency. Would you agree or disagree with that? It is a certain energy that you have to be connected to in order for you to overcome the fear of failing.
I would say that, yes, I think that well, if you think about it, when you're laying in bed at night and you're all of a sudden you start thinking of something that you're terrified of, your body's going to create the chemicals to create the emotion of fear. And you can see fear on people's body. You can see anger on them. They're giving off an energy for sure. I would agree with that. And there's one of my mentors, Pace Morby. He said to me, he said, we vibrate differently. And people that vibrate
Mm,
differently, they're attracted to each other. And I thought that was really interesting. There was a time in my life when I definitely vibrated a lot differently than I do today. I was um, certainly lost, and anybody that feels like they're lost or they feel like they're in that energy that they don't think they can get out of, it is 100% possible. And you don't have to do it alone. And there are so many great authors and so many great podcasts and people that are on the other side of that that have found that freedom and they want to help you. And I really
yeah.
appreciate that.
And Dr. Joe Dispenza, the fact that you brought him up, that's really important because he only focuses on how you can control your thoughts and how that is the catalyst to whatever it is that you want to seek, whether it's, a happier life, a better connection with people, or a better outlook on how you deal with things. Emotional intelligence is all framed in the way that you think about things.
Mhm.
And little do we know that, although there is a such thing as people like to, or they feel like they're hiding their emotions, that vibration thing is really real. You vibrate a certain energy. And if a person is on the opposite frequency of that, they can feel that vibration because it's a tug, right?
Mm.
It's a tug because your vibration is high and their vibration may be at a low or a medium. And you can feel that tug because your energy or your vibration, like you said earlier, is seeking to match that because your mind is there. Like, you have to really think these things. Like you said, the lens that you look out of, you have to see the glass half full, right? There is that whole, is it half full, half empty? And it's only based on the way you look at it, right? Both can be right at the same time. But what would you rather see? Would you rather see it half full, or would you rather look at it as a negative? It's all up to you. But the fact is there for you to see. So that's why I said I appreciate that, because for the most part, um, energy and vibration is real. What you put out in the atmosphere do come back. And fear is one of the biggest dream killers in the world, outside of, maybe validation and stuff like that. But fear is one of the number one dream killers in the world. And the fact that you guys have overcome fear and failure together, yo, that's a winning formula, because all of us can do it. Would you tell people more about the idea of seeking mentorship? Because I think that's important too. We don't know it all. So what put you in that mindset?
Yes. So I think that it sometimes, I think one of the fears that I had to overcome myself was asking for help, and I didn't want to look stupid. And so joining mentorships, plus also there seems like there's a million opportunities to join a mentorship program out there. And sometimes people can be afraid of, is it going to be worth it? But I honestly think that everything is worth it if you invest, your heart and soul into it, or you just try to learn something from it. There's books that I read and I will feel like, maybe one or two things I agreed with them, but I like the phrase that says, "Eat the meat and leave the bones." So I take what I appreciated from it and leave the rest. But a mentorship, I would say, is like somebody reaching their hand down and giving you like a skip above several ladders, so that you can avoid a lot of the pitfalls and the experiences that you don't necessarily need to go through. It's like a cheat code, is what it is. You talk about the vibration. You get to hang out and be rubbing elbows with somebody that's at a higher level than you are, and that's going to rub off on you. It's so they're just I just really, really appreciate that. Um, and they tell you to get in the rooms with the people that you want to be like. I think you said it earlier, your friends and your family, as lovely and as wonderful as they are and as supportive as you hope that they would be, they are not able to support or encourage you sometimes. And so they do pull you back down. And most of the time, it's because they're looking through their own lens of their own life and they don't
Mm,
believe that they can do it. And I remember somebody telling me, you're going to regret opening that food truck. And I just, I look back and I go, I don't think I regretted it. It was actually a really it was a great time in our life. I wouldn't start a food truck now, but I'm a different person today than I was 20 years ago, or
right.
10 years ago. And, but it was an excellent experience. It taught us a lot, and I think that it's a great way to get started as a food business, especially because, with all the regulations, you have to have a certified kitchen and all kinds of stuff, and you can just have your kitchen in your driveway plugged in.
That's true. And the fact that, you have a passion for something, because it's not just something because it's a money grab, right?
Mhm.
Because that gets people burnt out too if they say, "Oh, I just want to do this because I heard it could make money," and
Yeah.
then they get in it and they found out that they be breaking even for the first 6 months. Then it's like it's no money, right? And then they out of it because they don't have a passion for what they're doing. And I think that's the ultimate dream killer too, is the reward from people's dreams and visions. I think people expect that monetarily is the way that you can tell if your visions or goals or dreams are successful. And some people don't understand that it's in the work that's going to make you successful. It's almost like watering the plants. Like, so many people think about the opposite, right? Like a carrot. A carrot grows underground. Like, a person has to water a carrot and really leave it alone, because what you see that is supposed to be of the carrot for a really long time, it's going to look like ain't nothing going on but these two little green little leaves sticking out the ground. But the whole time it's growing and developing underground, out the way, not in the front, not where everybody can see you. It's the work that you put in the background, the late hours that you do doing the research, the paperwork that you fill out, the conversations that you have to have, the whole, structure, because you have to structure everything. You have to put things in this place. You have to go here and there. And to be honest with you, that is the part that is not glamorous, because it's not the front, right? It's not the everybody see that you do. It's just the success part that people see. So whenever you putting in that part of the work, that's where I think people count the money,
Mhm.
right? Because very few people feel like they should be doing that part. They feel like they only should be doing the part that is the actual thing, whether it's basketball. Like, people feel like they should be automatically out there in the NBA, not knowing that you gotta first develop in your neighborhood on the basketball court, right? But people want to skip that, skip college, skip and go straight to the NBA. Right? That's what they want to do, because their dream is to be in the NBA. Their dream, they didn't see the road to their dream. They just saw their dream. And so the fact that you became a business owner, you saw that, yo, I can be successful as a business owner. You just had to take that route to get into the business that was successful, and you didn't give up. So let's talk a little bit about that, because you have a family. And how was it dealing with the balance of being a mom and a business owner at the same time? Let's talk about that.
Yeah. Yeah, sometimes I think, um, that if I hadn't, I made my kids work with me. I actually have pictures of our youngest daughter at 4 years old vacuuming one of my clients' houses because I took them to work as early as I could. I felt like that was good for them, built a lot of skills in them. But I do sometimes think now that, man, I made them work with me all through their lives, and I it's a hard thing to separate being mom and your boss. So as they become
Mhm.
adults, my youngest son was the last one to work for me, and he just left the business, and I'm really proud of him. He's doing his own thing, and I kept trying to push him out for a while, but it's too comfortable. We take really good care of our employees, and so
Mhm.
we keep them for a long time, and so he's one of them that stayed for a long time. But I was like, the problem is that your uh there's no line between boss and mom, and so we would have arguments that my employees would never have, so it was quite interesting, but that's basically what we did. Is I kind of felt like, we're doing life. We're not doing business and having a family, we're just doing life, and life is we all help each other out, and we all work together, and we're all building to make sure that we, can buy groceries and things like that. So, I think it's really important to bring your kids with. That way, you don't this idea today, that people talk about having work-life balance. I didn't have that understanding growing up because I had to work. I worked, all the time to be able to provide for myself, and, uh, and I just always felt like, um, I don't want enough. I want freedom. And to me, that means it's gonna be a little bit harder work to get there, and I'm willing to put in that time because I know eventually you're gonna push that boulder up that hill for so long, and eventually you're gonna get to the top of the hill, and it's gonna come down the other side. And,
Mhm.
Alex Hormozy says that all you have to do is be that 1% that keeps going, because eventually it becomes something, and you're gonna beat 99% of the people in the world, and that's what I think is really what it is the reason why we survived as a restaurant and we thrived is we looked around and we went, "What else can we do? What else can we do? How can we pivot? What else can we make?" Can My husband dragged a barbecue to the end of the street. We threw a bunch of picnic tables out in the parking lot, and we sold barbecue, and that was so. Um, 6 years ago, and I still get people that will ask me if we're ever gonna do street side barbecue again. I'm like, "No, that was just to help
Wow.
us pay the rent." But,
Right.
but it
Wow.
was, it's just how you just that's what you do. You pivot, you do as much as you can, you roll up your sleeves, and, the whole time my kids were there with me, and because 'cause we're doing life together, and so, yeah,
That's
that's what I would say.
important. No, that's important because man, you're saying so much stuff that's why, man, I say the same thing about, the freedom and the creation and the creativeness I do so I can have my child with me. I don't have to worry about whether they can or cannot be somewhere. And this is the reason why I do. I say this stuff all the time. So as I said earlier, I knew this conversation was going to be amazing because there's so much confirmation for me in this
Mm,
conversation today because these are all things that I say. Like if there's people watching today that actually know me, they will know that a lot of things that you're saying tonight are things that I say. So they can know that it's an energy and it's a spirit. It's not just me personally just
yeah,
saying things. It's like a real thing. Like, yo, we looking for freedom. And in that freedom is doing what you love to do. And in that, the
right.
money comes. You just
Mhm,
got to be willing to put in the work and not
mhm,
look for the money, but put in the work, the money going to come. And I really, really feel that wholeheartedly. And not only that, there's pieces to your puzzle. Right, because you said one thing. You said you treat your employees good, but man, every employee ain't good to treat. So the
that's true.
fact that you had good employees, you got to be able to take care of people that are good to you. And I do
Yeah,
that too. With my people that come on set, I do extra things and things. And people are like, well, why you do this? And why? Because they didn't do it. I don't need them to do everything for me. Long as they do the things that I need them to do, then yeah, I'm going to make sure that I look out for them. And regardless, they don't have to do everything I need them to do. Long as they doing what they supposed to do when I need them, I'm going to make sure I look out. And that's the difference. So thank you for saying that, man, because I tell you, it's always good to hear the fact that you're not the only one with this particular mindset. So
yeah,
that's important. And I
it
like
is.
what you said about doing life. Not the work life balance thing is a thing that people use as a separation mechanism again. And I
Right.
like how you said we do life. We don't do work life balance. We do life together. And
Mhm.
that's amazing. I like that.
Yeah, if we lived on a farm, we'd be working all the time and doing life as a family, and, work is just it's no different, and, yeah, it's just you just have to, do what you love, and I mean, not necessarily, do what you love, just do something that you're called to do and do it well. Whenever somebody says that, life isn't fair, especially my kids, they would say, "Well, it's not fair." I'd say, "You're right. Life isn't fair. That's why we gotta work harder." If you do an audit of your time and you were to say to yourself, okay, so I need probably 7 hours of sleep a night. And then if I work 8 hours, that leaves me an extra 9 hours a day. What am I doing with that 9 hours? And they say you pay for your life with your 9 to 5, but you build your future in your 5 to 9. And so
Mm.
today I heard somebody say something. He said, every day get up and do something to give yourself a raise. And I thought, that's really good advice.
That's
Do something to
great
give
advice.
yourself a raise.
That's great advice. You know what? And that's what everything you do, because every little step you take gonna get closer to that raise. I mean, every one, every post you make, every piece of content you create, every advertisement that you move around. I mean, every single thing is that step closer. And
Yeah.
it's crazy because look, I got a comment here. I want to read this comment real quick so we can respond to it. This guy, Mysterious Weasel says, my girlfriend is European, and sometimes it feels like they have a safety net, a family, and social benefits that we don't always get here. So I try to explain to her that in the US, money is freedom.
That is a challenge for him between her and him. I would, argue if you look into it, some of those people have to come here to get treatment and stuff because they have systems, and when they're free, it's not always the best. So, and there's a reason why people wanna come to the US because it is freedom. You get an opportunity to decide what your life is gonna be, and you just because you're born into this family doesn't mean that you have to stay in that place, and that's where when, growing up in the environment that I was in and the choices that the adults were making, it didn't necessarily have to become my future. I could decide something different. And that's what I really appreciate about being in the US. It is nice to have the safety net, but if you think about it, um, if you have a safety net, then you often don't push as hard. Tony Robbins says, you know how you proceed, you know how you make yourself be successful, you burn the boat. And what he's saying is you burn the
Mm,
boat so you don't have anywhere to go back. And
that's right.
when I got fired from my job and I started my cleaning business, it was like, yeah, that was me burning the boat. That was it. I was not going to go back to working for somebody else again. And I'm grateful that I made that step forward. And I will say this, you made a comment. You said that me and my husband overcame fear. We absolutely 100% have not. We just do it anyway. That's all. We're still afraid.
Mm,
I'm terrified. I have nights of insomnia, and I'm always problem solving and thinking, how can this be better? What can we do so that this is better? I just do it anyway, even though I'm afraid. It's that one foot
yeah,
in front of the other.
I think that's basically it though, right? Because
Mhm.
you know, one might argue that that is overcoming fear, right? Because then there's that person that does what you said that you do at night, and when they get up in the morning, they won't try it.
Right. There's
You
there's
know what I
this
mean?
There
So
there's a
mm,
few seconds between, I say I'm gonna do it, and then I I
don't.
hesitate, and that hesitation it's deadly, it'll kill any dream.
That's right.
Tony Robbins talks about how he gets into his cold plunge, and I cold plunge, and I'm in Alaska, and I have talked myself into it, but he cold plunges, and he said he gets all the way in, all the way under his head, because he said, "I tell my brain what we're gonna do. I train my brain to listen to me," and I thought that was really cool. Sep
Mm,
May 17th, um, almost 2 years ago, my husband got up, he turned 50 years old, and he said, "You know what? I think I'm gonna go to the gym every day for 90 days." He'd been listening to some, um, podcasts and people talking about 90 days, 90 days, and so he thought, "You know what? I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna go to the gym for 90 days." And he ended up liking it so much. He works out every day. It doesn't matter if he has a 5 a.m. flight or whatnot. He gets up and he works out for half an hour at least. And after 365 days, I watched him do that. And I was recording him. We did a little 1 year recording of, so what did you learn? What has changed over the year? And I was listening to him and I thought, you know, I think I could do it too. And so May 17th was my first day. I think I'm at day 260 or something right now. But there was a point,
mm,
and it's interesting when you at first you don't want to do it and you have to force yourself to do it. You're like, "Ugh, I gotta get up and I gotta go." And then there's this switch that happens at some point after multiple days of going every single day where your brain just goes, "This is who I am now." And I
it's
think
a
it's really
lifestyle.
cool because watching him do it, it was like I was borrowing belief from him because I could see him be
Mm,
so confident, and then all of a sudden I was like, "I think I could do it too." And then after doing it for multiple days in a row, probably took me about 3 months too, I just this is who I am now. So every day I have an 8-day schedule that I follow, so it's really easy, so I don't have
yeah.
to make decisions. But every morning I wake up and I go, "Okay, today I'm going to do this. Today I'm gonna do that." And it makes it really easy. But the cool thing about it is when you start doing those things, it's something simple like going and exercising every day, even if it's just to go for a walk for 10 minutes every single day, you're telling your brain to listen to you. You're telling your brain, I'm doing this, you're coming with. I tell my staff, this is a silly thing, but on my way to work, I smile and I say, today's going to be a great day. And my brain makes chemicals to make me happy so that today's going to be a great day. So I can train my brain to do what I want it to do. And that exercise every day has taught my brain that it listens to me, but it also is teaching me that I can be trusted because I show up for
Yeah.
me. I make promises to myself and I keep them. And, yeah, I think I'm probably
Mm,
never gonna ever stop working out because I just like being this person now.
listen. Oh man, yeah.
Anyway,
Listen,
that's a
you
lot.
hitting all the nails. Listen, it's a lifestyle. It's a lifestyle now. Like I
Yeah.
can't like
It's
It's a
identity.
lifestyle, right? It's every, and so I feel that a 1,000% because it's the same thing. That's exactly how I am, and it was one of those things where you're right. You had to make yourself go at first, and then now it just becomes second nature to you. Like I said, it's a lifestyle change, and you're right. It should give people that are around you the visual of how you will be for them because you show up for yourself.
Mhm.
Right? You would think that versus it may be looked at in a totally different perspective. But I'm glad you said that because it does prove a lot that, you can be dedicated, right? And you can be motivated even if no one else motivates you yourself. Because a
Mhm.
lot of times all it takes is to see that somebody else can do something to give you the energy to say that I could do that too, you
Yeah.
know. But then again, you got to be looking at that person in that way. You can't be looking at them like, look at them working out. They trying to look good. They trying to. You can't look at them with that type of
There's plenty of
energy.
people that will do that. But eventually,
Yeah.
eventually they're gonna be like, "Wait a minute, how many days have you done?" And it's really for me, the cool thing is, there's one of my other friends, she just told me she's at 120 days now, and then,
Right.
somebody else texted me a picture, day 2. It's like it's motivating other people to get on board too. I think it's fantastic.
It's amazing. So look, let's do this before we go. I want people to know because all right, so I know you working on some stuff, right? You're working on a book. I know you wrote a book before. But I like the idea of that book that you wrote because I think that's important. Would you mind telling the people about that real quick before we go?
The one that I published,
Yeah, the
so
one that you published.
when my kids were younger, part of the reason why we started the food truck is I wanted the freedom to continue to homeschool my kids. So I homeschooled for 10 years. And I also was a vendor for the school district to teach. We taught cooking with science, which was really super fun. And I published it and turned it into a book for other people to use because it was a lot of work to put that content together. And I just felt like it would be a tragedy if somebody else didn't use it. So yeah, so I published that last May. It's on Amazon called Cooking with Science. I think I have it. Yeah. All right here. Cooking with Science. And then I'm currently working on a book called Motipulation, which is a book about uh, how to be a better leader and how to lead yourself better. And it's basically, I took 2 words my husband and I were talking about. I said, we're having this conversation, and I was talking about how I just really love leading my people. And one of the things that I do is I sort of use a little bit of I'm sorry, motivation and a little bit of manipulation at the same time. And he said, Motipulation. And I was like, that's a good name for the book. And so we're calling it Motipulation. But we all use it. We all manipulate people in some way, shape, or form. For instance, I will say, I need a strong person if I need a jar opened or something like that. And it's been given a bad name, manipulation, because it seems like we're trying to take advantage of people, but really, um, that's not the what I'm trying to teach. What I'm trying to teach is how to bring out the best out of people, how to help them to believe in themselves and become the best versions of themselves through a strategy where they don't feel like you're pushing them, where they don't feel like they're being forced. If my husband would have gotten up every single day and said, "You should go to the gym," I would have been like, "Well, now I can never," because, because I would have felt like he was
Yeah.
telling me what to do. But instead, he just got up every day. And eventually I was like, I think I want to do that too. So I was really grateful for that. And most people are that way, where we push back when we get pushed against. And motipulation is a strategy or a technique that is just helping to gently encourage people to become the better versions of themselves that they already are. They just don't believe in themselves. And so that's what that book is about.
Dope. And I wanted you to tell that because, like you said, you homeschooled your kids for a certain amount of years, which I think that most parents are afraid to do, right?
Mhm.
Because of what they feel like how much it will take for them to have to do that when, you
Yeah.
know, um, being a business owner and being able to, it's just so much freedom and understanding what your children are learning as well too,
Mhm.
versus what is being shoved down their throat, and that you're teaching them how to actually own and not be a worker, right? It's
Right.
not like people don't need to
Yeah.
learn how to be a worker, but that's how they come work for us, right? That's why we give them that training. We don't need to let them go. Like, bring into the household. Like, that's the motivation behind being a business owner and bringing your children up in your business. So yeah, I'm feeling all that, man. So if people want to reach out to you in order for them to learn, I mean, do you specify and like you just talk to women, or do you motivate men? Like, how does that work when it comes down to, because there are a lot of people who are business owners who may
Mhm.
need, you know, your structure in order to be able to move forward and how they're, you know, considering their employees, because you have to fire people and all kind of stuff, but you also had to be, like you said, hire slow and fire fast. So,
Mhm.
you know, how can people reach out to you if they need to do that?
So my husband and I together do this, and
Hmm.
we do work. We speak to all aspects of people. I do a lot of mindset stuff, but I also do for business owners. And I'm on just about every single platform: YouTube, TikTok, Facebook, Instagram. It's Kimberly.FarmerFisher, and Farmer was my maiden name, so Farmer Fisher. And then I also have Kimberly at KimberlyFisher.com. And Fisher is spelled Fischer. So they can always email me, Kimberly at KimberlyFisher.com, and I'd be happy to help out, happy to reach out. I have a whole bunch of free content that I give away. And my goal is just I want to rise people up so that we can make this world a better place. I think that taking ownership will really definitely make a huge difference in the world around us.
Yeah, that makes sense. I like that. And for all of y'all that's watching tonight, thank y'all so much. But for those of you that are watching and those of you that's going to watch the playback, if you are a business owner, if you're contemplating that and you just, you know, and you've been going through things and you have these different obstacles that you had to face and you need just a little bit of, you know, motivation. I was going to say motivation. Uh, then definitely reach out to Kimberly, right? Because here's the thing, y'all. Um, there's a such thing as, we know mentorship is a thing that all of us can use, right? For people who have been through something that can help you not go through that. But then there's a time where, you know, you need to be able to talk to people in where you are that can help you go through that too as well, because they've been through it, right? Not every mentor you get going has been through what you had to go through in order to get where you are. But there are people who you can talk to that have been through trauma and overcame it. And I think
Mhm.
that's what made Kimberly so important to your conversation as an owner, as a business owner, as an entrepreneur. It's because, you know, mentally everybody has something that they had to deal with, you
Mhm.
and me included. It's just what you choose and which lens you choose to look out of. I think all of us need that, right?
Yeah.
To figure out what lens, you know, y'all, when y'all go to a photographer, he got to figure out the right lens to use to capture the right look for you. And I think we all got to realize that, because the better the lens that we look out of, the better the picture. Oh, that's so, ooh,
That's
yikes.
good. That was really good. I
Yeah.
like that.
So look, I need all of you guys out here that was watching, man, please, man, y'all keep supporting the channel. Y'all know that each and every week I'm going to have some of the world's most interesting people up here that we can conversate with. And those of you out there that have watched tonight and you are business owners and you are a mom or you are a person that's going through different things and you want that freedom, I'm telling you, reach out to Kimberly, get some of the information she has. And for those of you guys out there that are, that cooking with science, and I like that because she actually is cooking too as well. So you guys gotta, you know, and this is a great way to bond, like through food and through cooking with your children. For those of you guys that may look for different ways to build a closer relationship with your children, cooking is always a way for you to use that as a means of bonding. So definitely check her out. All right. So until next week, y'all know what to do. Stay fly out there. And remember, if you don't believe in yourself, nobody else will. And I'll see you guys next week. Peace.